but to either tell or to hear some new thing. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachak Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and laboring the word and doctrine. Shalom, meaning peace, that have been to the elect of the nation of Israel. Again, Shalom, meaning peace. So in Acts chapter 17 and verse 21, it says, For all the Athenians, them of Athens, and strangers which were there, spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing. And a lot of these were, deep into the Greek. Did one put it up? The Jew or the Greek, the Jew, the strangers, don't know that a lot. In fact, let's jump in some words and then expound from there. So Athenian says, Athenaios, a person who lives in Athens, an Athenian. Right, so that's simple enough. A Greek. It reminds you of that in Maccabees, that they would write to them to be of Antiochans, following the way of Antioch. Because these strangers, you're going to find out about these strangers. It says strangers xenos, so you get the term xenophobia. If someone's talking about, I want to deport this person, I don't want any immigrants coming over, that is xenophobic. Xenos meaning foreign, phobos being a Greek word as well, meaning a fear of. So it says a foreigner, a stranger, alien from a person or a thing without the knowledge of. Reminds you in Revelation, I think 22, it talks about for those without dogs, and whoremongers and sorcerers and this and this and that. Might be misphrasing that. So it says without the knowledge of, without a sharing in this thing of ours. It says new, unheard of, one who receives and entertains another hospitably, excuse me. It says with whom he stays or lodges a host. So those that aren't necessarily of Athens but are there, and these were Jakes, believe it or not. Looking, let's find it. 16 is the context, Acts 17 and 16. Now while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Right now, if these were non-Israelites following the ways of their parent, their fathers, the gods of the other nations are idols, pursuant to Psalm 96 and 5, he wouldn't have great, what does it say? Well, his spirit wouldn't be stirred up because he understood, these other nations have their gods. Where he gets zealous or jealous is when the Gentiles, which contextually are them that were Israelites, well, they are Israelites, but they were following the ways of the Israelites, the Judean way, the way of the Jews, or the way of their fathers at one point, but then through lineage they're Israelites, but through works they're like unto the Xenos, the other nations. Why? Due to their foreign practices in worship. That's when you go into Hellenistes and Hellene, the main difference there is it says a primary difference is to religion and worship. So it means them worshipping the Heavenly Father, or rather not. Right, verse 17. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. So this is, if you're in England or even if you've seen it, Speaker's Corner. This was the Speaker's Corner of its day. That's why I started it with. These people are stood there to what? To hear, to tell, to go and preach a doctrine, or to go and hear a new doctrine. Which this thing, of course it's not new, it's of old, but it's new to a lot. And nowadays, it's been so changed from what the book says, to traditions of men, that again, when you read out the book, the doctrine that it is, it sounds like some new thing, some new doctrine. So verse 18 says, and certain philosophers of the Epicureans, those that were in pleasure, and of the Stoics, those that were of a more simple lifestyle, encountered him and some said, what will this babbler say? Some, he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Yahushai and the resurrection. So that was foreign to a lot of them. Although, historically, there was a king of the Jews, there was a Messiah that all the Jews looked for and were looking unto his return. But, and the resurrection, again was told of old. These were not foreign concepts to the Jews, but to those who one point were following the ways of the Jews and then fell into this Hellenistic lifestyle, this was as a new doctrine. Right, verse 19, and they took him and brought him unto Areopagus. We'll see what that word means. Air was doing with air, Pagus outside, possibly. Ares is the Greek deity of war. See if we can get into that. Ares. Yeah, Mars Hill, is where they are. That's the Speaker's Corner of its day. Let's see if we can pull it up on the M's. Ares, Greek god of war in all its violence, brutality, confusion, and destruction, identified by Romans with their Mars, from Greek Ares, literally injurer, destroyer. Okay, I thought it was pertaining to air. And Pagios, let's see if it's got it here. Pagnumi, to make fast, to fix, to fasten together, build by fastening together. So fastened together by, what do you call it, Mars. That's why they call it Martial Peak. It's the peak pertaining to who? Pertaining to Mars. So it's like you have martial arts, that's art pertaining to war. Of martial law, that's law pertaining to a time of war. Right, so Salahi on the Aries. I was sure because of the chocolate brand. But who knows? That was something for me to sideline later. Right, so, and they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, may we know what is this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is. Again, it's not a new doctrine, but it was new to a lot of them. Even to the Jews, who knew it, a lot of them were saying this is this is a new doctrine. They were saying Yahushua was casting out devils by the spirit of the devil, if you remember correctly. Because it was new to them, it was foreign unto them. It says, for thou bringest certain strange things to our ears, we would know therefore what these things mean. It says, for all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing. And that's Jake. Really this knowledge isn't new. I remember Jake saying, well, what are you doing for this truth? What is the new thing you've come up with? It's obviously not within the body but that's Jake now. Even in the so-called in the truth, wants to know, well, what's the new thing? What's the news of today? Of course, it's good to watch the news prophetically, but I'm talking of doctrine. The doctrine does not change. The doctrine remains as it is. It's as simple as that. From the beginning, it was there until now. But just a quick hit there, on to the next one, Lord willing. All praise to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachak Shalom.